Hi everyone, I'm Amber Almond Hall, and today I am going to be reviewing my process of how I go over multiple offers with my sellers when we receive multiple offers and the spreadsheet that I use. With that, I'm going to make myself little and let's jump into this. So I've got two clients who received multiple offers on their properties, and this is a spreadsheet and information that I use. And so I'm going to go over both examples and the information in each offer. On this first one, we received four offers before she was like, okay, I'm good. Let's just go with one of the offers. We don't need to take any more. And this was within about it was about a 36-hour time period. So what I do is I put the agent information. I've got it whited out here just for privacy purposes, but I do put the agent name. This gives me a really quick reference of who I need to follow up with, who I need to ask questions to, or who I need to accept their offer. And then I put the loan type. So in this situation, two of the offers were cash and two of them were conventional loans. And then if they are doing a conventional or FHA, I also include who their lender is. This helps me know that A, they're pre-qualified, or B, I need to follow up with the agent to see if they are pre-qualified and get that letter. And then I can follow up with the lender as well. The next section I have is their earnest money. How much earnest money is the buyer willing to put down? Now, we know that in an offer that every little detail makes up the big picture. And so that's what I'm really trying to paint here for my seller. I'm trying to put all of the little details out line by line so that when we either jump on Zoom and do a video call, I can just have these ready and easy line by line to see the details, or I can print this off and present it in person as well. It's really easy to review the details side by side and looking at all of the detailed information. So in this situation, we have two offers of $10,000 earnest money, two offers of $2,000 earnest money. 10,000 is not necessarily worse than the lower amounts. Maybe the lower amounts is all that they can do. But again, I'm just trying to look at all of the details to create that bigger picture. What are the buyers asking for? This is where I put in the inclusions section anything that they're asking for. Now, in this situation, the refrigerator was already part of the offer. They wanted to leave the refrigerator. And so this is not a big deal, but in some situations, it could be a bigger deal. What is the offer amount? So we want to know what amount is the buyer offering. And then I've got another column called net offer. And in this net offer column, when I click on it, you can see that it is an equation of what the offer amount is minus any monies that could be due. So in this situation, two of the offers are asking for a $500 home warranty. That comes off of the net offer. In this situation, this buyer is asking for $5,000 towards closing costs. So this listing was listed at $475,000 and they offered for $85,000. So their net offer is still over asking price. However, that's still pending appraisal as well. So again, painting the big picture to put all of the pieces together and see how it goes. Possession. All of these were upon recording. This one was on January 4th. It was a specific date. Who is going to pay for if there is assessments? So typically part of an HOA, who's going to pay for the assessments and who's going to pay for an HOA transfer fee if there is one. And I've got that listed out here. Now in this property specifically, there wasn't an HOA. There are no assessments. There's not anything like that. And so these dollar values are all zero, but you'll see in my next spreadsheet that that one does have an HOA. And so it plays a part into it. We've already talked about the home warranty, the closing costs, and then I also put any pertinent dates out here. When is the due diligence deadline? That's the deadline to do all of the inspections, to get earnest money back. That's in our market a critical time frame, and so a shorter due diligence time period is awesome. Settlement deadline, when are they willing to close the transaction? So this first offer is actually also the offer that we ended up accepting and closing on. It was a cash offer. They offered $10,000 in earnest money. They did ask for the refrigerator. Again, no big deal. The offer amount was $480,000, and they would net $480,000 from the offer. Now, this doesn't include agent fees and commissions, that kind of stuff, closing costs, none of that. This is just based on the offer. What is the net offer? Because then we can subtract all of the agent commissions and closing costs off of the net offer amount currently. So it would still net $480,000, but there was no appraisal. There was a quick close, and there was flexibility in the possession timeline. So this is the offer that she ended up going with. And you can see that everything is pretty smooth and pretty clean. Due diligence of December 28th, settlement of December 30th. Now, this is a really fast timeline. And because it's so quick, she wanted to have a few extra days just to be able to move everything out, so that if we got through due diligence and the buyer decided to cancel for some reason, then she wouldn't have moved everything out and had to put the house back on the market. Now, all of these other offers are also offers that we could go back to and potentially ask to be a backup offer. That was also another option. In this situation, she decided to move forward with the primary offer because the due diligence was so quick, just about a 9 or 10 day due diligence. Then she said, let's go back to any of these other offers first if the property comes available, or we can put the house back on the market given how our turnout was in the beginning. And then any additional notes, any notes that are pertinent and helpful. So this one, even though they needed financing, it was not subject to an appraisal, meaning whatever the appraisal came in, they were still willing to do that amount. Would that have netted her more money in the end? Yes, it could have netted her more money. However, the buyer could have still canceled based on financing. I can't afford that. I can't put that money down. There were still risks associated with that. And so that's why she decided to go with this top offer. Okay, in this other situation, you can see that we had quite a few more offers in this one. And again, same thing. I have several of the notes. So, starting at the beginning, who's the agent? What loan type? Several of these were an FHA loan. We have a conventional. This one was unclear to start with. A cash offer as well. So we were able to put all of the information and details in here. Again, who was the lender? Who do I need to follow up with? This one I needed to follow up with the agent because there wasn't a lender listed, and it turned out that the buyer, this was the first property the buyer had looked at, and didn't have time to get the pre-qualification letters in before submitting this offer yet. Earnest money. How much earnest money is each person putting down? Offer amount, net offer amount. And again, this takes into account things like the transfer fee, closing costs, home warranty, to be able to come up with this number. Do any of these buyers have a home to sell? In this situation, none of them did, which is great. Possession. When are they wanting to take possession of the property? Assessments and homeowners association dues. So you can see here that several of the buyers said that they were willing to, one of the buyers said they were willing to pay the assessment fee, but two of them said it would be split between the buyer and seller, meaning that this amount would be half of what the transfer fee was. How much are they asking for in closing costs? This one is a negative number because the agent said that he wasn't taking a commission on it. And so that added to the amount. And had we gone with this offer, we would have done an escrow instruction form to add that amount back into his bottom line. And so that's why this number is a negative number. Several of these were willing to put up money for financing to have the money for financing. If they cancel because their financing fell through, they're that confident that it's not going to fall through, but if it did for some reason, that they would forfeit X amount of money. And each of these three had a specific amount that they put up. Again, the home warranty plan. When is the due diligence deadline? When is the settlement deadline? In this situation, the seller wanted to close at the end of January. So you can see several of these are at the end of January, or sorry, at the end of, this one's the end of December, end of January, beginning of February. And so we can structure our conversations appropriately if we decide to move forward on one of the offers to make sure that the dates fall in line with what the seller is asking for. And then any notes, several of this one had an escalation clause up to $325,500. This one is going to pay $5,000 above the appraisal. This one had FHA repairs up to $600, and that could be a potential hit to my client if the FHA appraisal came back asking for repairs. This one had an escalation clause. This one had letter from the buyers. This one had no letter or email in it, and this one, the agent was not taking his commission. So I put all of these notes in here so that we can have those follow-up conversations with the seller as we are reviewing all of the details. Again, it's a big picture thing. It's not always that you take the most money or you take the highest offer or you take the cash offer. In this situation, he didn't accept the cash offer because he was willing to take the risks of going through appraisal and working with an FHA buyer. So it's about painting the whole picture. It's about putting all of the details and information on the table. And I found that using the spreadsheet format, having the details that are pertinent to each offer side by side and line by line really helps my clients to be able to digest the information, make educated decisions going forward, and to be able to do what's best in their interest and the interest of both parties. So I hope this information has been helpful for you to see how I review multiple offers, to see the spreadsheet format. Hopefully you can use something similar in your own business as well. And I will talk to you soon.